Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. At 4:30 a.m., I began my spiritual practice. I sat in a chair in my room and started meditating. It wasn't deep meditation. I was simply going back and forth between meditating and opening my eyes to see if anything changed in my experience. After about 20 minutes, something incredible happened. I suddenly heard a clear, high pitched sound, like the beep you hear in your ears when you're on a mountain or in an airplane. But this one had a frequency of 528 Hz. It was as if the world around me faded into the background. I became more present and started feeling strange sensations in my body, especially in my face. I felt a bit confused and wasn't sure if these experiences were real or just my imagination during this spiritual journey. As the intensity of these feelings grew, so did a sense of fear. At 5:00 a.m., I worried about falling off my chair, so I decided to go to bed. I turned on some meditation music and settled down. Colors became more vivid, and I even noticed the veins in my hand. After a few minutes, I felt that the music was distracting me, so I turned it off. At 5:15 a.m., I decided to lie down. I felt like I was sinking into a vast void, but this sensation was both intriguing and frightening because it was my very first spiritual experience. The room had a dim yellow light, and I began to feel like I couldn't breathe properly. I had an inner calling, urging me to go outside and connect with nature for a better experience. By 5:45 a.m., I made my way to the roof. I could focus on things, but I was still somewhat confused. Everything outside seemed fresh, vibrant, and colorful. The sounds of birds were amazing, yet I also felt like I had a high fever and a high body temperature. I could clearly see the layers of clouds and even focus on tiny details like the pores on my hand. Objects seemed a bit distorted, and an inner voice encouraged me to let go and let something else take the reins. But I was afraid to lose control. At the same time, I was in a joyous, giggling mood. I found humor in everything around me as if I were watching a comedy show. The entire universe felt like a comedy and a dream. Language, especially the concept of time, seemed hilariously absurd. I didn't want to dwell on the past or future because the only thing that mattered was the present moment. I was certain that the past and future didn't exist. I received calls to let go of my attachment to the world and become one with nature or consciousness. However, I still clung to this dreamlike world, battling my fears. I felt my body morphing, and around 6:10 a.m., my fear dissolved. I had an intense sense of joy, calmness, amazement, and freedom. I felt like I was trapped in a tiny space with no air, desperately wanting to break free from this world and my physical form. It was as though the birds were communicating with me, and I felt immense compassion for all living beings. Each cell, atom, grain of sand, and every pore of my skin contained a whole universe or infinite well of existence. As I focused on each object, I was drawn into the infinity of that particular entity. My entire body seemed to melt away, and I felt like I had left everything behind except for a sense of presence. I didn't want to cling to thoughts and memories. Every moment was perfect. There was a boundless, infinite well within every object, thought, or sound. Whatever I focused on, I was drawn into that well. I couldn't distinguish where sounds were coming from anymore. I became aware of everything but lost my sense of self and my physical body. Everything dissolved into nothingness. Everything flowed like air or a river, and nothing remained constant. Each moment was unique, and I had no interest in discussing the past. I even felt distortion in my heartbeat. Whenever I laughed, it felt as if my mouth stretched infinitely wide. My body seemed like a confining prison. Then, my 2-year-old daughter woke up and came to me. I was utterly captivated by her presence. It was like I was seeing her for the very first time, and she looked absolutely adorable. There's an entire universe within her eyes, and I longed to immerse myself in the infinity they held. For a while, I reveled in her cuteness and cherished our time together. But now, I yearned for solitude to delve deeper into my thoughts. At times, my hands appeared as delicate as a baby's, and at other moments, they seemed monstrous. I decided to retreat indoors to enjoy a few things on the computer and to meditate. As I stood up, I felt an overwhelming sense of amazement. It was as if I were wearing Victor glasses, observing my body and limbs from a third-person perspective. My body appeared surprisingly small, yet I retained control and could walk. Upon re-entering my home, it was as though I was seeing my room from the inside for the first time. Even the entry door seemed diminutive. Sitting in front of my computer, I immersed myself in images of nature, becoming absorbed in their beauty. Then I decided to watch the documentary Moving Art on Netflix, a nature documentary. Within just 5 minutes, I found myself in tears. I felt an overwhelming sense of loneliness, as if I, or perhaps God, was alone with no one for companionship. These worldly objects and the beauty of nature were the only imaginations I had for company. In that moment, I experienced profound compassion and self-pity. I came to understand that Surah Ikhlas from the Quran was not merely a surah but also a poignant narrative. Everything on the computer screen appeared remarkably clear and sharp. Wisdom and insights dawned on me during this journey are that God was merely exploring himself. He was infinite. Everything was a part of him. He was joyful and relished every experience, desiring that we explore and enjoy. Embrace the dream. Don't take anything too seriously. Feeling like I had wasted enough time on the computer, I powered it down and returned to my bed, resuming my meditation. I closed my eyes and intricate, faded patterns emerged. It was as if there were countless doors, and God was asking which one I wished to enter. I felt like lying down, so I reclined on the bed. As my spiritual journey neared its conclusion, I decided to spend some quality time with my family. I went to the family room and basked in my daughter's adorableness for a bit longer than I had planned. Then I felt the urge to look at myself in the mirror. To my disappointment, I appeared disheveled and unhealthy. I felt a sense of self-pity and questioned what I had done with this temporary gift, my body. At 8:00 a.m., I was back to my normal state of consciousness. That wraps up this account. Speak to you in the next one. Take care. Goodbye.